Top button's done up. It's going to be a serious episode with no jokes. Welcome back to the Skill Builders Guild. Thanks again for watching. It's episode 81 of What's on the Bench Weekly. And if you're not familiar with this show or you're new to the channel, welcome. This show is where I take you through projects that I'm working on. Some are very long term. So at some point I'm going to have to do some sort of spreadsheet so you can reference that and go back and find out where I started these projects. Anyway, no time like the present to get started, so here we go. I'm really super excited to share some real, absolute good progress on the Blazing Blazer. Now, many of you may not be familiar with this because it was built before even I was born. Maybe it was 83. I'm in and around the same age as this vehicle, and it's looking way better than I am. Obviously the body hasn't been painted yet. It still needs a bit of finishing work. I actually had a paint accident in the workshop and a can exploded because I dropped it and it hit a corner and then sprayed paint all over it. So there's actually a little bit of work I have to do to correct that. But we'll get that off here in a second and I'll show you all the progress on the actual chassis, which is a thing of beauty. Absolute chef's kiss. This is a new aluminum manufactured wing. The plastic one that I have, the original one, is in pretty bad shape and it's also very fragile, so I'd rather run this with the aluminum one and it's just going to be much more shiny and look cool anyway. But yeah, let's get this body off so we can get a look at this chassis, which I am so happy with. Here it is. It's absolutely 100% completely restored. Every single bolt, screw, nut, piece was disassembled, sonically cleaned, and then polished. I have spared no expense in terms of my time to restore this entire vehicle, and I am so happy that I did because all of that effort and hard work paid off. I have an absolutely mint Blazing Blazer chassis, and as you can see, there is not a lot of suspension travel. There's just, it doesn't move at all, and that's normal. It's not a mistake with the build, it's just how this thing was built. The leaf spring packs that are included are spot welded together, and there's not a lot of flexibility. It was never really, I think, meant to be an actual scale crawler. It's really more of like a sand dune sort of truck that happens to have leaf springs. It's mostly original. There are a few things here that aren't. I'm going to try to go through them with you. This whole bumper assembly, the front bumper here, you can see these nice laser cut aluminum pieces. Those aren't original. It was originally, there was a tiny metal piece and then a plastic cover in black that went over the rest of it to kind of keep everything together. But in my opinion, these new pieces look way better. I spent a lot of time polishing up the actual bumper assembly, so it is quite shiny. It looks really, really good. I'm really pleased with the outcome there. What else is not original? The tires, obviously. These are not reproductions. They are official Tamiya licensed sand tires, Unlimited. It's an actual brand. I did not know that. You can follow them on Instagram. Yeah, they're originals, but new stock. So they're still looking really, really good. There's no cracking. The tires, the original ones, they're junk, absolute trash. Couldn't use them. What else is not original? Oh, the rear bumper is also not original. That is a machined aluminum piece. That is a reproduction. But I do have the original. It was just in really poor shape. And if I'm going to replace the front bumper, I might as well replace the rear bumper. Other than that, all original. The transmission completely restored. It looks fantastic. One of the things Tamiya asks you to do is put silicone sealant over all of the seams in the transmission, because all these pieces, you know, this is 1970s technology, so a lot of gaps. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to leave it clean like this. It has been lubricated, but I'm not going to overdo it with any of that lubrication. All of these little grommets here, these are original. I'm so amazed that they're not in worse shape because they look so cool. This is like so Tamiya. All of that is Tamiya. The motor cover, that is also original too. It's sort of a plastic that goes over the motor. What did I replace this with? I put a good motor in there. Sport tuned. It's the Sport tuned motor, so 27 turn, I believe. But yeah, everything is done. It looks pretty darn good. The biggest disappointment I have is the amount of scratches on the actual plastic electronics case. That's not looking the best, but I have to admit it was more important to me to keep it original than it was to replace it. So yeah, everything's been taken apart, re-greased, and reassembled, and I'm really quite pleased with the results. The aluminum frame isn't perfect. There are some divots here and there. I did sand it. I wet sanded the whole thing, trying to get some of that out. And, you know, ultimately, I think some of that wear should show. You know, it's restored, and it's using original stuff, so it's not going to be absolutely perfect. Also, these are new shocks I used. The original kit doesn't actually come with shocks, probably because it doesn't need them. They're really just for the cosmetic purposes. But I did put the front ones on. I will put the rear ones on as well. That's something that I overlooked when I was doing all the rest of the assembly. But otherwise, that's your Blazing Blazer chassis. I am so happy, and it's nice and smooth. Everything works too. The diff locks still work, so you have freewheeling if you want. And yeah. I'm pretty amazed, actually, I gotta say. One final note, on the transmission itself, the assembly is working really, really super well. I just need another arm, and it looks just like that. It looks like that one. There, that one there. I don't have that. I'm gonna have to find that online and add it, and then we'll be able to do all the rest of the electronics. Now, of course, this electronics box is massive by today's standards, and honestly, we're not going to need all the space that's in there. We're going to need 2 servos and a modern speed control, and then we should be good to go. It's been a long time coming. This has been a long-term project. Now we just have to finish the body, and as soon as it gets a bit warmer, we will do paint, and I've got a really nice livery picked out. It is an homage to the original. It won't be original. I couldn't do box art. I just couldn't. Slightly different. All right, that's enough of that one. Let's move on to something else. If this is the type of content you like to see, restorations, vintage RC, styrene work, then hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't already, and ring that notification bell so you get updates anytime there's a new video from the Scale Builders Guild. Okay, on to the next one. Hey, what do you know? It's the Enduro 12 again. Here it is, a little chassis. I like this one. I think it's got a lot of potential, which is why it's back on the bench today, so I can show you what potential it has. Hey, look, it's a Tamiya Blackfoot body, and already I can tell this is going to be a really nice little conversion for this truck. I think we're going to try to make it a little more scale and a little less crawler. So we're going to find even smaller wheels and tires and actually try to get this to sit a bit lower overall, which I think we'll be able to do. Now, the biggest challenge with converting this to a hard body like this one is we're going to have to change the length of the rear links, because as you can see here, it's a little out of spec. And that's not a problem. Making your own links is super easy, and if I had all the materials today, I'd be able to share a how-to, which we'll probably have to wait for next week. Amazon let me down. But because these are smaller overall, it's like an M2 screw instead of an M3, so you're going to need a much smaller overall link diameter. So we're going to go with M3 threaded rod. And we'll find some rod ends that will fit on there, and then we'll create the proper wheelbase just by shortening these links, probably only by about 1/2 inch or so, maybe even full inch. We'll have to see. But that's going to be really fun. I'm looking forward to doing that. Mostly because I think this truck is going to look super cool as like a true scale, 12th scale little tiny truck. I think it's going to be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah, it looks like more of actually like an inch. If you've got an idea for tires that would work with this scale, put a comment down below. You know I love reading through your feedback, and I try to answer as many of those comments as I can. If they're easy ones, Rebecca gets them. All right, so yes, I've got the whole package of other assorted scale bits to go with that Blackfoot body. I wonder if we should put the Blackfoot stickers on there. It might be a bit too on the nose, make it a little less scale accurate. Although it could be fun, who knows. All right, so that's this project. Obviously more to come with this one. I think it's going to be really fun. Please stay tuned for that. All right, on to the next thing. This is the Relarlo Omni Terminator. It's a Terminator. And you may have watched the review video, which I'll put right up here. Great truck, very bashable, even considering its small, diminutive size. But yes, very fun. I've changed opinion, made it faster for sure. But one thing that I have been working on is swapping to the larger battery tray. And herein lies the problem. As you can see, I've done the swap. You can fit a much larger 3S battery in there, but they give you no provisions for where to put the ESC now. I'm like, where do you want me to put that now? Where should it go? So I'm trying to figure out exactly where it should go. I'm thinking it's probably going to have to go over here somewhere, but it can't go. I don't know. I'm gonna have to figure it out. But that's one thing I'm changing. Also, there is a gyro, but it's super hard. Like, it's like figuring out a cheat code on Contra to get this thing to actually do the thing that you want it to do. I just haven't figured it all out yet. So I'll do a standalone video just on this with all of those changes. On to the next thing. Oops, I lied. You can't actually see this today. It's coming out in a week. So pretend you didn't see it. All right, I think that's going to do it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you again next week.